Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movies News Roundup. I muted the mic. We are back on our weekly show where we discuss all of the weekly topics and news items in the world of nerdy movies. I messed that up, but that's okay. Okay, we have a lot to get through today, so we're just gonna jump right into it. So first up for our trailer segment, there actually just there weren't any trailers this week, which was kind of strange, but there's a leaked, maybe fake, maybe real trailer. Honestly, I'm not sure, but there was a leaked Knights of Ren trailer, and basically it's just on, like, here's the thing. It looks leaked. It looks like somebody recorded it in like on a laptop in like a really dark room. Like at first I was like, is that like a movie theater screen or is that a laptop? Honestly, I'm still not really sure. But even if this is fake, this is like an amazing fake trailer, at least just visually. Like it looks really good. And yeah, basically you just see like the Knights of Ren doing lightsaber stuff and they look pretty cool. Now, so I thought that the Knights of Ren were just people who like really stand Kylo Ren. I didn't realize that they're like their own group and they just follow like another religion, the religion of Ren or something like that. I read that somewhere. So that's the thing that I learned. But yeah, this trailer looks cool. Even if it's fake, I still recommend you watch it because it's just really well done. And if it's real, I mean, I guess that's an interesting Disney Plus show. So yeah, really weird, but definitely interesting. Okay, for our first news story, we have Vincent D'Onofrio flip-flopping on all of the stuff he said regarding Kingpin's canonicity in the MCU. So this is coming from comicbook.com. You know, I learned recently, a couple of the fans, they were very excited about it. They were commenting about the strength that I have, D'Onofrio began, because I'm throwing Kate Bishop around and stuff, but I totally forgot. I just saw a clip on Twitter of me and Charlie Cox fighting in DeKnight's first season. Obviously, he's an incredible director. He helped develop the character of Wilson Fisk. There's a scene that we shot on an alley in a street in Brooklyn where I'm literally throwing Daredevil through the air, he continued. Like, I'm picking him up and swinging him 15 feet into a garbage can. I do it a few times in that fight. It's no different. It's really not. So I keep saying that it's the same Fisk that was in Daredevil. It's the same canon. But people get confused about things. I understand. They don't exist separately. They are the same person, D'Onofrio explained. I think from my point of view, like a lot of the Avengers stuff, a lot of the MCU stuff, they tried to connect as many dots to the original canon as they can, and some dots are just not possible to connect. And that's what we've done with connecting to Daredevil and vice versa. So, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, Vincent D'Onofrio was like, yeah, you know, like I'm playing it like it's the same character, but you know, they try to connect as much stuff as they can, but there are just some things that you can't connect. And it kind of read to me like he's not going to come out and just say that the original show isn't canon, because obviously he wants it to feel like, oh, it's Kingpin coming back, and you know, he doesn't want to discourage fans from going and checking out the original show. So that's kind of how I read it. But I mean, here he flat out says this is the same canon. Now, I will disagree with him on one thing where he's saying, oh, but the strength, it's the same thing. You know, I was throwing Daredevil around in the alley. You know what I'm saying? I completely disagree with that. Like, I went back and I watched that fight, and it's like, yeah, like to be fair, he is picking up Daredevil and throwing him around, but like, it wasn't with the same ease, I would say, with that he threw Kate Bishop around. Like, he literally like punched Kate Bishop, and she flew across the room. I mean, he would like he would like, you know, pick up Kingpin Daredevil, slam him on the ground, pick him up and throw him into a couple of garbage cans, but I don't think it was quite the same amount of strength that was shown in the finale of Hawkeye. Not to mention that in that same finale, he gets hit by a car. Then he gets hit, like, he takes the brunt of explosive arrows, and he survives. And then presumably he's gonna get shot by he got shot by Echo in the head, in the face, and he's gonna probably survive that. So I take umbrage with him saying like, oh no, what are you talking about? It's the same amount of strength. It's like, no, it's not. It's definitely not the same durability for sure. So that's a little weird there, but at the same time, he is flat out directly saying that it is the same canon. So I really want like Kevin Feige to come out and confirm this, but we'll just have to see how they play it, you know, in future shows. Because honestly, at the moment, it could or it couldn't be like that. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it. But yeah, there's that. Let me know what you think of that, and we'll move on to our next story. Bill Murray. He's in Ant-Man 3. That was reported on some time ago. Now we got some more information. It's coming from CBR. Speaking to former New York Giants quarterback Eli Manning on the Eli Manning Show, the retired athlete questioned Murray about his part in the upcoming film. Aren't you in like a superhero movie coming out? Ant-Man? Not only does Murray confirm his involvement in the film, but upon being asked what his power is, Murray responds with, "My power is I'm a bad guy." So yeah, he basically just flat out says that he's a bad guy. And I could be wrong, but I think this is his first time like actually talking about it, and he confirmed that he's a bad guy. Now, we know that he's probably not going to be the main bad guy because Kang the Conqueror is going to be in this, and he's most likely going to be like the main villain, but it seems like Bill Murray is like, maybe he's going to be like his henchman or something, or he's just going to be like a villain that's kind of off to the side doing his own thing, right? So yeah, I mean, that's definitely interesting. You know, I like Bill Murray, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see him play a villain, but we don't really know too much else about it. Okay, next story. The Raid. It's a good movie, good action movie. It's good hallway fight sequences. You know, we were talking about Daredevil. This is very much it's compatriot, I guess, in that sense. Well, guess what? It's getting a Netflix remake. It's coming from Collider. Director Michael Bay is joining forces with Patrick Hughes and Gareth Evans in the return of a Hollywood hit. According to Deadline, it was reported that the three critically acclaimed directors on a reimagining of the Indonesian action thriller, The Raid, for Netflix. The 2012 film was created, written, and directed by Evans and premiered at the 2012 Toronto Film Festival, where it quickly garnered praise for its action sequences and cinematography. The success of the film led to its 2014 sequel, The Raid 2. So, there are a lot of people negative on this, obviously, and I get it, but also, this is just kind of the way that I view remakes in general. I'm fine with them. Like, first of all, like, there's a chance that it could be just as good as the original, if not better, and, you know, if you get a new guy in there, he puts a new twist on a familiar story, cool, we have a good movie. And then if it's really bad, okay, well, we still have the original, so I'm not gonna get too worked up over it. And then the one thing that's like for sure is that whenever there's a remake of something, that will lead to more people watching the original film than would have watched it otherwise. And so, like, if you really love The Raid, well, guess what? A lot of more people are going to watch The Raid now. So, whatever. Obviously, like, am I excited by Michael Bay? No. Am I excited by, what was the guy's name? Patrick Hughes? Yeah, does his name? No, not really. I think I looked up his IMDb. Let me look it up again. I know he directed like Expendables 3, which is like okay. um, why I looked up Expendable 3 instead of Patrick Hughes. Patrick Hughes. Okay, let's see. Let's look at his IMDb. Okay, yeah, not. Uh, so recently he's directed The Expendables 3, The Hitman's Bodyguard, and The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Okay, you know what? Not. Granted, I have not watched any of these movies, but it's just one of those movies where it's like, I know it's not great. I just know those aren't great movies. Like, I I just know that The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is not a great movie. So obviously that doesn't excite me necessarily. It's like, and at first you'd think like, oh well, why isn't Gareth Evans just directing this? But it's like, do you really want the same director making a remake? I feel like that would be a little weird, right? So, whatever. It is what it is. I'm gonna hope for the best. Like, and also the other thing about the Raid is that it's like, you don't really need a great story here, right? Like, the original Raid isn't Shakespeare, you know? As long as you have some cool action sequences, then cool. Like, go for it, you know? Okay, next story. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give me all your angry comments. Next story. We got a lot of set photos for Batgirl. I mean, this movie is really, it's turning into like kind of a must-watch movie. Like at first, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a HBO Max movie. Like it could be fine, it could be good, but if you're a DC fan, you're probably not gonna have to watch it or anything. But it's getting pretty interesting. So first up, we have this Black Canary picture, or a poster for Black Canary. If you remember in the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, that movie, you remember that movie? Black Canary, she was like a singer, so I'm thinking that those are probably like posters for her performances or something. And so here we have just a straight up Black Canary poster. So that's interesting. Whoops. Does that necessarily mean that Black Canary is gonna be in the movie? Not necessarily, because they could just be Easter eggs, but it's cool that we're seeing references to her. Now this one is really interesting. Here we have a mural of Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman. You see the little Michael Keaton like logo there, and Robin, just a Robin. Now, here's the thing about this, right? So presumably that's Michael Keaton's Batman. We know Michael Keaton is going to be in this as Batman, so there's that. But they confirmed now this confirms that in this universe, in the DCEU, there is a Robin. That is, again, just very interesting. And it. And here's the thing. Here's my thought on this, right? Like, this just further kind of suggests that in the Flash movie, there's going to be like a Flashpoint storyline, and the universe is going to get altered, and they're going to yeet Ben Affleck's Batman out of the DCEU, right? It's going to happen. If you're into this, if you're a Snyderverse person, I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is. I'm sorry again. And so, yeah, this just further goes to show that. But not only that, but it kind of suggests that this isn't going to be like the exact same Batman from the Tim Burton Batman universe. Because if you remember, in that universe, eventually Chris O'Donnell becomes Robin. And he wasn't a boy when he became Robin. He was like a 35-year-old man in Batman Forever. So this just kind of suggests that this is not a continuation of that Batman. It's just a different Batman with Michael Keaton playing him. So that's interesting. And then this next part is just kind of pure speculation on my part, but I don't think that that's like a modern day mural. My guess is that, and this is just a guess, but considering that before Batman v Superman and Justice League kind of pooped the bed as far as the box office, and the Snyderverse completely fell apart, there was like movement, and we were supposed to get a Nightwing movie. Like that was supposed to happen, right? And you know, everything just kind of fell apart, and now we're getting Robert Pattinson's Batman. But at this point, we're getting Michael Keaton to be Batman, maybe in the DCEU, and just as the general Batman. And well, now that opens the possibility for a Nightwing, and I wonder if I wonder if that's a mural of the older dynamic duo, and in present day, you know, Nightwing is going to be around. I know, I don't know, I maybe. And then there have been rumors of like Nightwing popping up in this, but I like just read it, and it's not like from like the Hollywood Reporter or anything, so it's not in the show. But and I was coming up with this theory before that rumor, and so I don't know, that kind of makes me think that we could maybe see a Nightwing at some point. So that will be interesting. But okay, next up we have what looks to be Hugo Strange. Now, maybe it's not Hugo Strange, but also like that's Hugo Strange. But again, much like Black Canary, like, does this confirm that Hugo Strange is going to be in this movie? No, it could just be an Easter egg, much like Robin isn't necessarily confirmed now just because we see a mural of him. It just kind of, these Easter eggs are just kind of stuff to flesh out the world, right? And maybe plant the seeds for like future movies and stuff. Okay. And then here we have Leslie Grace. Look at her. She's wearing a GCPD shirt because her dad is Jim Gordon. Okay, now here we see a magazine saying that Lex Luthor is still in prison. So I'm assuming this is still going to be like the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor, and he's still in jail. Maybe that aspect of the old canon is still in place and it happens similarly. I don't really know. And here we have the Court of Owls, an expose on them. So I mean, I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, they're wasting the Court of Owls on a Batgirl movie." Blah. But like, I don't think she's gonna fight the Court of Owls. Like, if Michael Keaton is playing Batman, then he would have fought the Court of Owls at some point, probably, and they would probably be like a public thing. So I'm not gonna get mad about this, right? Here we see Vicky Vale, like a magazine where Vicky Vale has wrote an article or something. So that's pretty cool. Now here we have Leslie Grace with red hair, right? The traditional red hair that she's supposed to have as Batgirl. She doesn't really have like red hair here. That's more brownish, right? Probably. Okay. Then okay, so those are all the set photos. So yeah, I mean, these have the set photos have just been coming in all week. And I think it all looks pretty interesting. I'm obviously, like, the Batman and Robin thing is the most interesting, and maybe we'll see like a Nightwing at some point in this universe. I think, I think that would be cool. Yeah, or maybe it's Jason Todd and he was beaten to death by the Joker. Who knows? Okay. Batman. We're not talking about the Batman that we were just talking about. We're talking about another Batman. It's Robert Pattinson's Batman. It's the Batman, and it is staying on its date for now. It's coming from comicbook.com. We're certainly paying attention to everything going on with Omicron. Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar answered when asked if Warner Brothers has discussed pushing the Batman after the first superhero movie of the year vacated January for April. It was a long sentence. And they're talking about Morbius there, of course. We feel good about the date right now. We're going to watch it day by day. So, listen, I've been saying, like, if we're gonna have like 2020 part 2 where all the movies get delayed, we just need to get to March 4th. Just get to March 4th. We can push through it. Just come on, everybody, go watch Scream. Okay, we need to keep the box office healthy so that Warner Brothers doesn't get scared. My emotional well-being is very much tied to watching the Batman on March 4th. If I'm being honest, that's like the one thing keeping me going. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I can handle this movie getting delayed. And I don't like that was not an emphatic like, yes, March 4th is our day. Rain or fire, that's not the saying, but we will keep Batman on March 4th. That was Jason Clarke being like, yeah, we'll see, maybe we'll move it, maybe we will, we're just gonna watch it day by day. That's not what I want to hear, Jason. That's not what I want to hear. Don't do it. Don't move it. I need to watch this movie. Come on. As you can tell, I'm nervous, but it's there for now. So we can only hope. Okay. Next story. Echo has gotten some Marvel Netflix writers. So this is very interesting, right? Isn't it interesting? It's coming from Screen Rant. According to the Illuminati, Ken Christensen and Dara Resnick will also be working as writers on Disney Plus's Echo. Christensen wrote 3 episodes of The Punisher, and Resnick wrote 2 episodes of Daredevil. So here, this is obviously interesting, right? Because, coming out of Echo, like one of the things that I heard a lot of people saying is that, I can't say I'm all too interested in this Echo show. And I personally am. Like, I think that the storyline that they set up with like Echo, presumably the show is going to be about Echo getting revenge on Kingpin. Although they kind of like lessened the intrigue of that premise by having her shoot him at the end of Hawkeye, but then we don't know what happened. So maybe he survives. Maybe he attack counters her at the last second and she doesn't shoot him and then he knocks him. Anything could happen, but presumably the show is going to be about her going on getting revenge on Kingpin, right? So I personally think that's an interesting premise. But coming out of Hawkeye, a lot of the speculation has been like, well, I can't say I'm really all that interested in Echo, but maybe this show is going to be like a secret like Daredevil show, right? Because we know that Kingpin's probably going to be in it. And if Kingpin is in it, maybe Daredevil is going to be in it. And so that was obviously just speculation, but this here, right, getting those Netflix writers is definitely lends credence. Like maybe Echo is going to be a pseudo Daredevil show of some kind. Maybe the Punisher will show up in some way, right? Because I mean, if you look at Hawkeye, like Hawkeye was just as much a Clint Barton show as much as it was a Kate Bishop show. Like I remember like people were actually like kind of annoyed because it's like for the first 2 episodes, it was just a straight up Kate Bishop show with Hawkeye being like a side character, right? And I mean, not that I personally wasn't annoyed by that because I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I still enjoy it, right? So I mean, maybe this Echo show is like a secret Daredevil show, and yeah, I mean, it would make sense that maybe the writers of that show would want to get some of those Marvel Netflix writers who are already familiar with these characters to kind of like help them get them right, So yeah, let me know what you think about this. I think it's very interesting, and definitely like those prospects make me a lot more intrigued by an Echo show if we get to see the return of those characters that, even though some of the Marvel Netflix stuff wasn't great, but like there's no denying that, like, I mean, Kingpin or Daredevil was great all the way through, but like, like I didn't love all of Punisher, but John Bernthal killed it in that role. Like, I didn't love all of Jessica Jones, but I thought Kristen Ritter was great in that role. I certainly did not love all of Luke Cage, but I think Mike Coulter, I think his name was, I thought he was great as Luke Cage. And, I think that that girl was Iron Fist's girlfriend was great. So maybe she can come in as the Iron Fist, because if you remember at the end of season 2, she was the Iron Fist. So they can leave the guy who played Iron Fist, he can stay out of the MCU, but to bring her in. She was cool. Right? Maybe we can do that. But yeah, what do you think about this this news? Okay, next story. Laura Donnelly is in Werewolf by Night, apparently. It's coming from Deadline. The Never star Laura Donnelly has joined Gael Garcia Bernal in Marvel Studios' Halloween special for Disney+, we can reveal. Plot details for the entitled special are being kept under wraps, but as previously reported, we understand Garcia Bernal could be playing a character based on the Marvel character Werewolf by Night, who is capable of transforming into a werewolf while retaining human intellects. The special is due to begin production in coming months. So, yeah. This Werewolf by Night thing is definitely intriguing. Like, it's a Halloween special. Does that mean it's going to be like a movie length? Like, is this going to be like a movie, or is this just going to be like a short little thing, right? Like, I'm also curious to see how long that Guardians of the Galaxy thing is going to be. That Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Now, I would be okay with a shorter Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special because we already know those characters, but I think it would be weird if you only got like 45 minutes with this Werewolf by Night character that nobody knows about. But we got a new actress in there. I saw like the first episode of The Nevers, did not like it, but she was fine, so sure. She's in this. So yeah, well, let me know what you think about that. Next up, Spider-Man No Way Home has been patched. So this just annoys me. And it's not a huge deal, but it's just kind of annoying. So I'm not going to show any of the footage because no, I'm not going to do that. And basically they went in and they they changed some of the scenes. So like the scene where they reveal, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, where he like leaves the mask behind in the alley, that's just like changed it's just edited differently now, and it admittedly looks better. Like it is a better edited, right, than it previously was, but it's just kind of weird that they're changing it, and then they've like updated some of the CGI of like the portals, and so like the sparkly things in the rings look a bit better. But it's just like, stop. Just don't. Like, you made your movie, okay? It is what it is. That's what you gave us. Just stop. Because the thing is, and maybe this is a slippery slope argument, but like when you look at the video game industry, it's really annoying that we're now like, it's just normal that game studios don't give people finished games, right? They sell their customers unfinished games. And it's just like the norm that that studios can sell you an unfinished game and then finish it later. I mean, obviously that reached a tipping point with something like Cyberpunk, but even still, like games, your game companies are comfortable with releasing an unfinished game and then patching it later. I don't want that to happen to movies. Like it's not okay to me that like you've released something that you're not proud of, and then you think that you can just you can, like, I buy a ticket and you're still not finished with it, right? I don't know. It's just scummy to me. I don't like it. I don't know. But I know in this instance it's not that big of a deal, but it's really more about what it could turn into later. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Okay, next up, Robert Kirkman, creator of Invincible, is being sued. So there's a lot to read through, but it's all pretty important. It's coming from the Comic Book Reporter. Comic book artist William Crabtree brought profit-swindling accusations against Invincible creator Robert Kirkman, claiming Kirkman convinced him to forego his copyright. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Crabtree's lawsuit blames his surrendered Invincible ownership stake on Kirkman's misleading persuasion. Crabtree further affirms that he co-created the Invincible comic book series due to his role as a colorist for the first 50 issues, meaning he should see profits from Prime Video's popular Invincible television adaptation. Fraud and deceit has become a standard business practice for Kirkman and is apparently where his true creative aptitude lies, attorney Devin McCree said. Crabtree's supposed ownership stems from a purported oral agreement between himself and Kirkman. If he sold Invincible to a studio, Kirkman apparently promised Crabtree 20% of the single sale proceeds and a 10% cut of all generated revenue from commercial exploitation, derivative projects, and any allied or ancillary rights. However, when it came time to put their spoken deal into writing, Crabtree's lawsuit maintains that Kirkman and his agents coerced him into signing a certificate of authorship, which unwittingly handed all of his Invincible copyrights to Kirkman's production company. Over the following years, Kirkman had paid Crabtree comic sales and licensors proceeds for a television-based motion comic and a television and film option with Paramount Pictures. As the lawsuit explained, when Crabtree questioned Kirkman about why Kirkman continued to pay Crabtree's royalties on the work for years after the certificate of authorship, Kirkman stated that those royalty payments were actually just bonuses that he paid at his discretion. However, after locking in Amazon Studios' deal, Kirkman notified Crabtree that his 2005 contract did not entitle him to the animated series proceeds, since he had. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my chair here. Since he had no official Invincible ownership. Okay, so that was a lot, so let's break it down. Basically, and I'm no law expert person, but what it seems like is this colorist, right? He, I guess because at the time, Invincible, like, obviously nobody knew that it would become as popular as it is today with the show, right? At that time, the colorist was able to kind of negotiate a deal with Robert Kirkman, to get, benefits or to get like a stake in the property or whatever, however you would phrase that. And Kirkman apparently convinced him to sign over those rights so that I guess the property would be more appealing to studios, because it's like a one guy who made it. That's a really weird reason, but that's I guess the deal that they made. And Kirkman still agreed to give him his money, but they did it orally. So here's the thing. If this is all true, is that like a shitty thing that Robert Kirkman did? I mean, yeah, like I would say that it is, right? Like he swindled him out of an agreement that they made. But also, if you're Crabtree, why would you ever do that? Like, no, like, don't do that. Like, you get it in writing. Be like, what? No, screw you. Okay. Like, that's so weird to me, right? That you did that. And so part of me is like, okay, is it shitty if Robert Kirkman like maliciously tricked him out of his thing, right? Yeah. But at the same time, like this Crabtree guy, and again, assuming all of this is true, it's like, you were an adult. You should have known that was a bad idea. Like, why would you sign away the rights? So, and honestly, like, and then if we're taking law out of the side, the one thing that I also do think about is like normally, like, should an artist, like, should a guy who drew Captain America, like, is he really entitled to any like money from like the live action Captain America movies? Like, no, probably not. Like, the movies are obviously like visually distinct from a colorful comic book. The Invincible show, however, is like pretty spot on, like on the money and on being faithful to the way those comic books look. So I'm like, honestly, just out of just goodwill, right? Like, you should probably give them some kickback from the show. Like, honestly, like, if I'm being honest. So I don't know. I'm on I'm of two minds here, right? Where I'm like, he probably should be getting money anyways, but if he really signed away his rights like that, and granted, so I'm not a lawyer, but I do know that verbal contracts are a thing, right? Like, if you make a verbal agreement with somebody, that is like that is the same as a contract. I guess the problem here is that it's a he said she said scenario where and granted, they don't really specify that in the article, but I would presume that Robert Kirkman is saying like, what? No, we never made that agreement. So again, we'll have to see how this court case gets settled, but it's obviously a very messy situation. And by the way, we talked last week about how they haven't started work on season 2 of Invincible yet. Maybe this is why. I mean, it could be. So we'll see how this all gets sorted out. Okay. Going back to The Batman, it officially got a rating. So this is coming from Variety. The film has been rated PG-13 for strong, violent, and disturbing content, drug content, strong language, and some suggestive material, according to the MPA. So I've seen some discussion about that, but this really isn't surprising. would, if there ever were to be an R-rated Batman movie, like we're in a current environment where, yeah, this probably could have been the one, but also like I'm fine with it not being rated R. Like, as long as it's a good movie, it's going to be a good movie. And it's, like Batman doesn't really need to be rated R. Like the Riddler's a serial killer in this movie, right? Like, would it have been cool to have, like, crime scenes as gruesome as Seven? Sure. Like, would it be cool to see, I don't know, like, I honestly, I'm not, I can't even really think of many things that I feel like would truly be enhanced with an R rating. Like, we've seen the trailers. We've all freaked out over the trailers. Nothing, and we've all seen those trailers going like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. It's going to be the best Batman movie of all time. And we didn't need any R-rated scenes to make us think that. So I'm fine with this rating. It is what it is. Next story. I don't have an image here. I thought I had an image here, but I don't have an image here. Well, the Pig director, you remember the Pig, the Nicolas Cage movie? He's making the next Quiet Place movie. Pig Hilmer Michael Sarnofsky is in negotiations to direct the next installment of Paramount's A Quiet Place franchise, Variety has confirmed. Take Shelter director Jeff Nichols was previously attached to write and direct the untitled film, but is now taking time to focus on his new project, an untitled sci-fi movie also set at Paramount. Cool, I guess. I haven't seen Pig, so I don't know much about this director, but I do like the Quiet Place movies. And everybody loved Pig, so if John Krasinski isn't going to come back to direct the next one, just get a good director. This guy seems like a good director, so cool. Next story. We're apparently getting Aladdin X Zorro. So this is coming from Deadline. Zorro is headed to the CW. The Young Skewing Network has put in development a gender-swapped reimagining of the classic masked vigilante character from filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, writer-director Rebecca Rodriguez, Sean Tretta from Mayans, and Ben Silverman and Howard T. Owens' Propgate. CBS Studios, where Propgate has a deal, is the studio. This could be interesting. Honestly, I've actually never watched like a Zorro thing, so I don't have too many strong feelings about the character, but I mean, sure, why not? I mean, if this comes out and it's amazing, then I'll watch it, I guess. So, I mean, yeah, I honestly don't have much to say about it. I know a lot of people are out there like, oh, the woke Zorro, woke Zorro, it's gonna be bad. But it's like here, it's so funny because like there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, you straw man us because you say that we get mad because women and black people are in movies, but that's a straw man. But then literally all we know about this is that it's going to be a female Zorro. And I saw like a bunch of, like check marks on Twitter being like, oh, this is going to be woke. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad, even though I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen a trailer. I haven't even seen a screenshot yet, but it's going to be bad. And so it's like, okay, it's not really a straw man because literally people have these reactions. I mean, so I don't know. Like I'm not saying this is going to be good. I'm also not saying it's going to be bad. We just have to wait until I watch it. Now, I will criticize the use of the word Aladdin X. I don't think it's in this, but they're saying it's Aladdin X Zorro. I think the term Aladdin X is kind of cringy, so I'll critique that, but like doesn't mean the show's going to be bad. So, I don't know. It is what it is. Okay, next up, Aquaman 2 is wrapped production. Cool. They're done filming. Now they're going to go into post-production. I didn't really love the first Aquaman. I thought it was fine-ish, I guess. Hopefully they can improve in the second film. I mean, I do really like James Wan. I just didn't think that the first Aquaman was all that great. Okay, next story. Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok is going to be having some weird powers in Thor 4. It's coming from Screen Rant. She has weird skills, to be honest. So this is the actress speaking. She can sense when someone is close to death, and she takes them into Valhalla, which is essentially the afterlife. She can revive people, but when she revives people, sometimes she ends up in their body. It's a weird thing. It can be quite erotic. And then she has superhuman strength and is essentially God. I don't know what this means. It's like, okay, like they're just gonna randomly insert those powers in. Sure. I mean, listen, Taika Waititi's probably gonna do a good job with this movie, but this just sounds weird to me. I've heard some people kind of theorizing that, oh, maybe that's how Jane is gonna get her powers. Like, I know in like in the Thor comic books or something, Jane gets cancer and then she gets like the powers of Thor, which kind of like help her. She gets like the powers of Thor, and so she has cancer, but when she wants to like turn into Thor, she can, but then that like accelerates her cancer or something. So I wonder if they're gonna do it in a way where like Valkyrie is gonna like revive Jane, but then it's gonna give Jane powers somehow. Maybe that could be it, right? And then it'll be interesting if from that it becomes erotic somehow between Valkyrie and Jane. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what all that even means, really. Okay. Next up is a Bo-Katan spin-off show, because why not? It's coming from CBR. According to that hashtag show, a series centered on Bo-Katan Kryze is in the works. The show would star Katie Sackhoff, who voiced the character on the Clone Wars and Rebels before reprising the role when it jumped to live action for Season 2 of The Mandalorian. No other story details were revealed, but the alleged series is set to take place after The Mandalorian's upcoming third season. Adding potential fuel to the fire of this report, The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett star Ming-Na Wen retweeted the report, offering her congratulations to Sackhoff. Wen quickly deleted the tweet. However, this could mean Wen knows about the show and deleted the tweet, as it's not official yet. But it could also be that she was simply learning the potential news from the report and deleted it once she realized it could be interpreted as confirmation. So, obviously not like a super credible source, but the fact that Ming-Na Wen went in and tweeted it and then quickly deleted it kind of adds some credibility that maybe this could be a thing. I mean, sure. Again, why not? Why not make a show about Bo-Katan? I like the character. I think Katie Sackhoff is, she's like a good leading actress, so I'd totally be down for this. But yeah, we'll have to see if that ends up becoming a thing. Okay, next up, we're getting a new CW show where Diggle is like a teacher or something. It's coming from the CBR. David Ramsey, who played John Diggle on the CW's Arrow, is attached to star in a new Arrowverse series titled Justice U. According to Variety, Ramsey will have a starring role in Justice U. The project, which is currently in development at the CW, sees Diggle recruiting and educating 5 young metahumans to become heroes while they live at a university. No additional casting information was provided by that outlet, and the series does not seem to have been officially greenlit as of writing. So, sure, again, here's the thing. I stopped watching the DC CW shows, but I'm back, okay? I'm back with a vengeance. Now, I'm not going to catch up on what I missed because that's impossible. But I've decided I am going to I'm going to start watching every new CW show that gets made, right? So, Batwoman, that left the boat. What are some other ones? I'm not going to go back to The Flash. I'm not going to go back to Black Lightning. Not going to go back to Legends of Tomorrow. Not going to go back to Supergirl. But last year I started watching Superman and Lois, and it's been really good. And I recently started watching Naomi. And you know what? I'll start watching this John Diggle show. Do I know where he left off of in Arrow? Absolutely not. But I know where he left off of in the Superman and Lois show. So there you go. Sure, I'll watch this because I've committed now. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. If you're like a super fan of the CW shows, let me know if this excites you at all. Now, it should be noted that we recently talked about the fact that the CW is going to get sold off, maybe. So if the CW DC universe like ends up not being a thing anymore, then that was very inappropriate, then yeah, this show probably won't happen. But obviously, like when they're in the middle of a sale, like you kind of have to keep on moving along as if it weren't happening. So, new shows being developed isn't necessarily, it doesn't mean one thing or the other as far as whether or not that sale is going to happen. So, just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay. Next up, we have Black Panther filming again. It's coming from Collider. Wright is returning to film the sequel after being injured almost 5 months ago. At the time that the injury was first being reported, it was said that the star had only received minor injuries. However, it was later revealed by a spokesperson for Marvel that Wright had sustained a critical shoulder fracture and a concussion with severe side effects. Production continued on the film without Wright up to November, with the decision then being made to halt production until Wright was healthy enough to return to set. So, I mean, obviously, happy that she's, better now and she's able to film. Yeah, so, like they said, it's still scheduled to come out on, did they say the date here? Okay, sorry, I didn't say the date here, but I think the release date is like November something. Will it make that date? I still think it's definitely possible. Obviously they've already started filming, so I think I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think it'll probably still make that November date. Because realistically, they probably would have finished. Like if they had just continued filming, they probably would have finished it well before its release date. But because of the way that MCU stuff gets released, it's all very planned out, so it probably would have just been sitting, waiting for that release date anyways. So I think it's probably going to be fine. Now, if there's some more shenanigans with Letitia Wright not wanting to get vaccinated and stuff like that, and they continue having to delay or if they keep on having to stop shooting, then obviously that's going to impact it a lot more. But as of right now, I wouldn't worry too much about the date. But yeah. Next up, we have Storm Reed playing Riley in The Last of Us. If you remember the Riley, she was in the DLC. She was Ellie's friend. Sure. I don't know this actress. I think she's in Euphoria. She's probably a good actress, and she looks good for the role, so I'm fine with that. Okay, next story. Doctor Strange 2 has wrapped filming. It's coming from CBR. Deadline confirmed that the Doctor Strange sequel had completed additional filming during an interview with star Benedict Cumberbatch, who portrays Dr. Stephen Strange / Doctor Strange in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Cumberbatch emphasized his excitement. Oh my gosh, I lost my. Oh my gosh, I lost my place. For Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness after Spider-Man No Way Home's post-credits scene featured the highly anticipated trailer. I'm thrilled at the reaction to the teaser trailer at the end of Spider-Man. I'm thrilled at the reaction that filming's been having, he said. I mean, it's been a bit of a moment, to be honest. So, yeah. I know a lot of people were freaking out about oh my God, they're doing extensive reshoots. Oh, but it's Marvel movies always schedule reshoots for that reason of maybe things don't maybe if things don't go necessarily, if things when things get on the editing floor and the director wants to make some changes, they schedule reshoots so that they have that option. So I personally wouldn't worry too much about the reshoots. Sam Raimi, I'm sure it's gonna turn out fine. Now I'll be honest, there hasn't been any confirmation that this is the case, but if they did go back and do those reshoots just to jam in some cameos, because of the reaction to Spider-Man, that maybe will lead to all of that feeling a bit cheap. But also, Kevin Feige isn't a reactionary producer, right? Or a Marvel executive. He generally he makes his plan and he sticks to it, right? He doesn't freak out and do and react to stuff like Lucasfilm or the DCEU does. He generally makes his plan and he sticks to it, right? So I doubt that he would just decide to go out and put in random cameos just because like of the reaction to Spider-Man. I don't think that would happen, but if it did happen, then that would worry me a little bit. But either way, I doubt it. So I'm cool. Doctor Strange 2 is probably going to be great. Okay. And that was the last story. So next up, we are going to be moving on to what I've been watching. So yeah, this is the last segment of the show. So let's just get into it. First up, I watched Tick Tick Boom. This is a biographical musical biopic. I don't know exactly what it is, how you would say that, but basically Andrew Garfield, he plays Jonathan Larson. He is the creator of Rent, and it basically is a biographical musical about his life before that point of him being a struggling artist and all of that. And it's really great. Andrew Garfield is absolutely fantastic in this. He gives one of the better performances of his career, and it turns out he can really sing. And yeah, as someone who is, an aspiring artist who has tried artistic things in the past, it's definitely a movie that hits pretty close to home, and it's is in some parts depressing, but also kind of hopeful. So I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. I've also been playing more Super Mario 64. Talked about it last week. I'm still having fun with it. It's Mario 64. It's very interesting because I played the DS version of the game, like the remake, and it's interesting seeing the things that are different and how, in a way, this is like me playing like a lesser version of that because there's a lot less content, but I'm still having fun with it. It's still Mario 64. I've also continued playing Psychonauts. Again, I haven't played too much more of it, but I'm really enjoying it still. A lot of the same stuff that I said before applies. It's, I really enjoy the writing and the voice acting and the animation and just the creative ways that, because if you don't know, it's about this kid here who he like goes to like a summer camp of people with like superpowers. They're basically mutants, and basically they can like go into people's minds, and you can see the way that in people's minds, like their sort of feelings get become what's the word? Basically, you see how their feelings become personified, right? So like the way that like you go into somebody's mind, and like their baggage, for example, becomes personified as like actual baggage, right? If someone feels fear, sort of stuff gets personified in different ways, and that's sort of what the levels are designed around, and it's very interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I heard the second one was amazing, and so I figured I'd jump into the first one first before playing the second one, and I have to say I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, definitely go check out Psychonauts if you can. It's on Game Pass. I also watched Seven. I kind of got into like a serial killing mood, watching movies about serial killer, not doing the action. So I finally checked out Seven, which I never watched before, and it's great. It's it's like, it's very much feels like it's not so much like because the other movie I watched is Zodiac, by the way, and they're both directed by David Fincher, and they're both markedly different. Like Zodiac is like honestly one of the best looking movies I've probably ever seen, and the city feels like just dark and gritty and horrible. It's like, I know I'd heard people saying that like the Batman reminded them of Seven, like the trailers, and like I totally get it now. Like I like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this feels like Gotham City. Like it feels just like a horrible place to be, right? And so yeah, like this movie is basically like an exploration of different people's like approaches to living in this world, and where like one of this cop here, he's just trying to adapt to living into the city. The other cop like hates it, he wants to retire, and you see the serial killer obviously like has issues with the city and he's trying to make a statement, and so I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's just a very interesting piece and look at the way that David Fincher just views society, right? And in a weird way, it is just like a very interesting look into the mind of David Fincher. And then yeah, so I also watched Zodiac, and this movie is great as well. Although this one is honestly like, obviously like Seven has like incredibly gruesome murders, and in a way, Zodiac is scarier because it actually happened. And I mean, I'm sure it didn't happen exactly as it's presented in this, but it's like knowing that like the Zodiac killer was real and watching those murders, it's just it's more scary and more just creepy. Um, but yeah, this one it isn't so much focused on the Zodiac killer as much as it's focused on the detectives trying to solve the mystery and just sort of seeing them slowly become more and more obsessed, and seeing how this murder is kind of like destroying them as people, and again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's kind of like the different angle that it turns. And again, it's great. And I will say, again, I don't want to spoil it, but like, and I honestly, if I wanted to, I could spoil Seven and Zodiac, but I also don't want to, especially because Zodiac is based on a true story. But honestly, it's good. It was really great watching these movies without knowing too much about them. Like, I honestly didn't even know that much about the Zodiac murders. But like, there's a scene. It's in a basement. If you've watched Zodiac, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it is the most scared I have been watching a movie in a while. It like just the tension, you could cut it with a knife, right? But yeah, definitely watch Zodiac and Seven. Hot take. They're good movies, Nobody else is saying that except for me. But yeah. Okay, next up, I watched Naomi episode 1. As I mentioned before, I have made a decision to watch all the new CW DC shows, and I enjoyed it. I definitely, I didn't mind it. So it's kind of interesting because this doesn't appear to be like in the same universe as the other CW DC shows. Of course, it's probably in the DC multiverse that they're setting up, but it doesn't appear to be in the universe within that multiverse of the other CW DC shows, if any of that made any sense. Because it's like, this appears to be, at least at the beginning of the episode, like the real world where like Superman is like a comic book character, and there aren't like weird like super powered elements to the world. But then things get introduced slowly and you kind of learn more about the world, and I enjoyed it. I think Naomi is a cool character. I think the actress is really good in the role. So yeah, I enjoyed it. If you at all are interested, hey, look, that looks interesting, I would say check it out. Is this the CW show that's gonna get you into the CW DC shows if you don't like them already? Probably not, but I thought it was pretty good. Okay. I also watched episode 1 of season 2 of Superman and Lois, and I continue to really enjoy the show. I like seeing Superman deal with being a superhero and dealing with his family, although we didn't get too much in this episode. This episode was more so about Superman clashing with like the government, and I also think that that's like a very interesting dynamic there. We also see Lois dealing with the appearance of the Lex Luthor's daughter, right? Obviously there's just a lot of awkwardness there, and I appreciate that this episode like tackled that awkwardness head first. I thought that storyline was super interesting, and then we see what's his face, the super powered son. I know one of them is named Jonathan. I don't remember the other name, but the super powered son then has to deal with this like awkward reuniting with his girlfriend. I thought that storyline was kind of weird. Oh, also, I guess I'm kind of spoiling this, but I want to talk about this. I thought that storyline was kind of weird because what she's just acting really weird, and it's one of those things where, like, okay, it's not conceivable that she could get to the point where she feels like he's getting too close, but she like got home and she was acting like really weird, like she didn't want to be there. And I'm like, is this something that's going to get explored further in the season, or are they oops, oh man, my camera. Is that something that's going to get explored uh further in the season, and is there going to be a reason for that, or is this just like kind of like, is she just kind of growing or getting distant from, maybe Jonathan is his name, I don't remember. I mean, yeah, like again, it's not like the weirdest thing in the world or the most outlandish thing in the world that she would grow distant, but I don't know, it's just it's a little weird, and I'll be interested to see where that storyline goes. But yeah, overall, I continue to enjoy Superman and Lois. It's like Superman and Lois is a if you don't like the CW shows, I would recommend checking out Superman and Lois because it actually is quite good. Okay, I also watched the Book of Boba Fett episode 3. Here's the thing. There's been a lot of discourse surrounding this episode. I liked I continue to like this show personally. You know, it's not like great or anything, and it's actually funny how I flip-flopped. Like at the beginning of this season, I was like, man, I want to see more of Boba Fett being a mob boss. I don't want to see any of this Tusken Raider dances with wolves nonsense. And then by the end of episode 2, I was like, you know, I'm actually like really invested in this dances with wolves stuff. And the mob boss stuff, it isn't really working for me. And so now we're in episode 3, and we got a lot more mob boss stuff, and it's not great. And I'm like, you know, I think I could have used more dances with wolves. It's kind of funny how that kind of flipperoo happened, because, you know, I passively enjoyed The Mandalorian. Like, I honestly don't think that show was amazing or anything, but I was like, it's fine. I can just passively enjoy this. Whatever, Baby Yoda's cute. And so that's that's just kind of my feeling towards Boba Fett, and where I'm like, I enjoy the mob boss stuff. It's not great. Like, it's not The Godfather, but I can passively enjoy it. I liked the colorful bikes. I liked the gang. I thought they were cool. Personally, I know it personally got a bit too campy for people. I can respect that, but I kind of enjoyed them actually. And then yeah, and like, but then going back to the Tusken Raider camp, I was like, dang, they made me care about these guys. I was actually sad that they died. I was like, I want to see Boba Fett get revenge, and I'm going to be interested to see if maybe, I don't know if, I guess presumably if now they're showing up and they're teaming up with the mayor, maybe Boba Fett didn't end up going after them, maybe, or I'll be interested to see if what they do, if maybe he went after them in the past and he didn't succeed, and now he's finally going to face them again in modern day. So that's going to be interesting to see. So honestly, I get it. Like, the mob boss stuff in this episode was not especially good. So I totally get people not enjoying it. I personally enjoyed it. I liked the Vespa gang because they looked like they were riding around in Vespas. I will say, like, I honestly don't think those bikes look ridiculous. Like, yeah, Star Wars vehicles look dumb. Like, yeah, I don't know. I personally thought it was fine. I also like the fight with the Wookiee. It is one of those things where it's like, how bad is your security, Boba Fett, that he just waltzed in and attacked you in the back to tank? It's like, was nobody watching? It's like, okay. But, you know, I like the fight. I thought I like this Wookiee guy. And I look forward to seeing more of him in the future. Yeah. Oh, and I guess just to address like I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Boba Fett, he's too nice in this, blah 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 blah." But again, I haven't seen the original trilogy in a really long time, but I feel like people have are just like they've had their like this like head canon of who Boba Fett is, and they've just imprinted him on this character who, in reality, has not been much of anything, at least in the original trilogy. And I know a lot of people are like, but in the extended universe, he was a badass and he did a lot of cool things in the extended universe. But like, I don't care. That's not canon. So okay, maybe there's like in canon comic books where he's established as this ruthless bounty hunter who, he doesn't care about honor. He doesn't care about people respecting him. Because like that's obviously like one of the main criticisms of this show is that Boba Fett is too nice. And again, I really do feel like if we're just looking at the original trilogy, which is what we saw him in, and then we saw him as a kid in the prequels and in the Clone Wars animated show, I really just kind of feel like people have just imprinted on him their headcanon, right? Of like, yeah, he's established as this guy. But then again, I haven't seen the original trilogy in a while, but as from what I can remember, I'm pretty sure he just kind of stood around a bit and then he went out like an idiot. So none of that stuff bothers me personally. Okay. Next up, I watched Peacemaker episodes 1 through 3. So yeah, this is, I guess, the latest installment in the DCEU technically, because now we're getting in this. Yeah, I guess this is like the WandaVision of the DCEU in the sense that it's our first example of like DCEU canon HBO Max show programming, and it's really good. I think the entire series is going to have been written and directed by James Gunn, and you can really tell in these first 3 episodes. I think that Peacemaker was a very interesting character in the Suicide Squad, and I actually thought that John Cena's performance in that movie was like surprisingly good, and that only just carries into the show. I think he's a very interesting character. He's surprisingly vulnerable emotionally. You can kind of see, stemming from him killing Rick Flag, he kind of like has this desire to be better, and you can really see it in the show. And I think his character progression is really cool. And, and then I really enjoy, all of the supporting cast in the show. I think they're all just pretty great. And I think they're going to make for interesting characters. And yeah, and obviously it's a James Gunn directed movie. So it is bonkers. It is insane. It is very R-rated, or I should say MA-rated, because it's on TV. And yeah, it's just overall really good. It's really funny. The opening credits, the best opening credits that has ever been in a TV show ever. I mean, this is going to be, I think, the first TV like streaming show that I have ever watched where I will never, not once, skip the opening credits, because it is just amazing. And yeah. And by the way, can I just say, like, obviously, I'm not like, you shouldn't just go out and get a wrestler to play a superhero, right? Like, because most of them are going to be terrible actors. It's taken The Rock and John Cena like years of really working at it to actually become like pretty decent actors. And I do think that John Cena, I will say now, is like, he's a decent actor. Like, he can carry himself well in a role. But the one thing that is undeniable is that seeing just like a wrestler and just being like just these insane physical specimen in a comic book, a movie like this, or a show like this, it's just really cool. And like, just seeing that scene and seeing like John Cena in his underwear dancing, it's just a marvel to look at. Just, I don't even know what point I'm making here, but John Cena is just a physical specimen, and I appreciate that. And I mean, yeah, that scene where where he's fighting the butterfly in his underwear, it's insane and it's awesome, right? So yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying the show so far, and yeah, let me know what you think about this and any of all of the things that I talked about in the comments below, and just anything in the show in general that I've talked about in the comments below, because that is the end of this installment of Nerdy Movie News Roundup.